Welcome back to the Select Start Fantasy Podcast. How are we doing, fellas?
Pretty good.
A lot to go through.
So we still have the Monday night game between the Raiders and the Saints to be decided, but obviously never too early to get into some waiver wire action. We had a rash of injuries yesterday. It was just savage. We'll talk more about that in our weekly. First, I guess we'll start with you, Big Baller. Who do you like?
I think the biggest thing that obviously is coming into this, you mentioned that we got a bloody Sunday, so lots of guys went down. We had Saquon go down. Reports came out this morning that CMC is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. So a lot of guys with big-time running backs, those are that could be your 1.1 and your 1.2 in some leagues. Gone for the season and gone for about half the season. So running backs are high priority. Jerick McKinnon was the only healthy San Francisco 49ers back, so I'll focus on him. I'm going to put more of Jerick McKinnon as a waiver wire target on Kyle Shanahan and finding successful running backs in a Shanahan system. McKinnon played well for fantasy purposes and broke off a large run. It was like a 52-yard run on fourth down, third down. So it was a little bit of a fluke, but I think that coming in next week, Tevin Coleman is facing an injury. Raheem Mostert's unlikely to play just based off the preliminary reports. So I think Jerick McKinnon could be a 1 to 2 week pickup. It's just difficult to get excited about guys like Myles Gaskin or Kerryon Johnson. So Jerick McKinnon could be a guy that you put into a starting lineup.
You can never go wrong, it seems like, at least in the last couple of years with a 49er running back. These owners need waiver wire relief, man. Hit us with it.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the carnage that went on Sunday. I mean, Dion Lewis had a lot of burn after Saquon went down. Mike Davis, who had a very productive day yesterday after the departure of C-Mac. And even through that game, spelling C-Mac, he was a dependable second option for the Carolina Panthers. And then Jerick McKinnon, you hit on it, probably one of my favorite waiver wire pickups considering how well they run the football in San Francisco. The list goes on. I mean, there are probably about 5 or 6 guys you can go out on the waiver wire tonight or today or tomorrow and get. Devontae Freeman, who still doesn't have a team, is said to be working out with the Giants. Darrell Henderson, who came in kind of for Cam Akers after he got hurt. James Robinson, who probably is out there unclaimed by in a lot of leagues. If you haven't picked him up, go pick him up now. And Myles Gaskin is probably one of the lower tier guys you can go get. So if you strike out on a lot of those other guys, you can probably go get yourself a Myles Gaskin or James Robinson and still come out with kind of a productive player.
I actually have a follow-up, which, like I mentioned, I'm not terribly excited. I love Mike Davis. I like Darrell Henderson. I'm not going to fully buy in on guys. I was interested in Darrell Henderson throughout the offseason. Last week was Malcolm Brown. We saw that last year with Malcolm Brown having a week. This week was Darrell Henderson. Cam Akers was injured, though. There's too much there where I just don't think that Darrell Henderson presents a consistent, certain option. So I'm a little hands-off on Henderson. I like Dion Lewis. I like Mike Davis. I actually really like the idea of Devontae Freeman, kind of that pickup before he goes somewhere, because I think he's getting looked at. He was with the Eagles earlier this week. The Giants brought him in today. He could get into a nice little situation. We saw something like that happen with Leonard Fournette where we didn't know where he'd end up, but he ended up in a nice place where some fantasy production. But I'm also kind of moving towards the idea of maybe picking up some handcuffs, depending on your team structure, depending on your league. But we saw a couple big name guys go down, and anybody who had those handcuffs is sitting pretty right now because you're not wasting waiver priority. You're not wasting fab. You already have them on your roster. We saw week 1 with the Benny Snell thing. It didn't work out week 2, but James Conner was healthy. So these guys are missing weeks. They're guaranteed weeks. If anybody else goes down and you have that handcuff already on your roster, you have one step ahead of the rest of the teams in your league.
I like that. You might want to go out and prioritize handcuffing your own players, honestly, the way guys have been dropping. I think I have a few of my players handcuffed, just kind of making sure that, if I sustain a big injury, I have the next guy up. So that could be a strategy for a lot of you out there who want to just maybe you're not really interested in any of these guys or any of the running backs. Hey, go handcuff your own guys because next Sunday, we could very well see the same thing with the rash of guys going down.
We're only 2 weeks into the season and we're talking about handcuffing your own guys. Any other thoughts before we wrap up this quick waiver wire action here?
If you haven't picked up Robbie Anderson yet, go get Robbie Anderson. With the loss of CMC, you expect that passing volume in that offense to go up, along with Russell Gage, a sneaky guy down there in Atlanta who's the number 3 receiver. Another guy, Keelan Cole in Jacksonville. He's putting up big numbers these first 2 weeks of the season. I think he caught multiple touchdowns yesterday.
Look for guys in good systems right now. The waiver wire is feeling a little bit sparse. It's only week 2. Injuries just happened, so obviously everybody's rushing to those running backs. But if you sneak in a wide receiver who's got some long season potential, look to see who's been dropped. I've seen a couple interesting pieces dropped. It doesn't mean you have to pick them up, but I saw Judy dropped in a league. That's a priority. I know currently in our league, I like Keelan Cole. He's got that. He's been having a pretty decent volume. I expect DJ Chark to get more volume than he's been getting over 2 weeks, so that could limit Keelan Cole. But Gardner Minshew has shown that last season was not just a fluke, but that he seems to be playing even a little bit better. He seems to have settled into the NFL one season in. So these wide receivers on the Jacksonville Jaguars might actually really be options as well. Chase Claypool had that big touchdown grab this week, but this is not an aberration. Week 1, he played limited snaps, but Roethlisberger found him week 1 as well. This is a guy who's drafted this year, so his role could expand as the year goes along. I actually had a funny little bet on Russell Gage that I lost this week. I thought he'd outscore Tyler Boyd, but Boyd had to go get a touchdown in the fourth quarter and outscore me by 4. But Russell Gage still had a really good game. The Falcons are throwing all over the place.
Really quick, tight ends, Jonnu Smith, if he's still out there on the waiver wire, go pick him up. If A.J. Brown misses any more time, Jonnu Smith could very well be the number 1 option in that passing game. Mike Gesicki had a big day on Sunday. Mo Alley Cox, somebody, who rarely gets mentioned for the Indianapolis Colts, had a huge day with over 130 yards receiving. A sneaky guy down there who might, see some extended playing time for the Indianapolis Colts.
You got Gardner Minshew. Don't be afraid to start Gardner Minshew.
And I said this before. I think I said it in our Jacksonville prep. Like, I feel like Gardner Minshew is going to be a top 12 quarterback. You called me out for drafting him in our draft. And I think if he's out there, go get him. He's an easy start.
We're going to hit a QB sit start question here. One of the QBs Nye's got, one of the QBs I got. What would you guys do between Joe Burrow and Gardner Minshew?
Ooh.
I'm playing Joe Burrow every week. Every week. He's going to throw the ball 60 times a game. I'm starting him every week.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'm doing that yet with Joe Burrow. I like this matchup. I'm cautious with a rookie quarterback.
If Joe Burrow continues to play as he did on Thursday night, he's going to be fine. Joe Burrow, another guy who might be out there on the waiver wire, he's just going to be, the volume is there. And honestly, it might be a time to start looking at Cincinnati pass catchers outside of Tyler Boyd and A.J. Green. I'd kind of hold off to see, what if there's any consistency there. I like Joe Burrow. I like Gardner Minshew. And, D.D. Westbrook should be back. And it should be better for Gardner Minshew. It's just another guy to add to that, stable wide receivers who seem to be playing awfully well right about now. They had Tennessee, on the road.